Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're going to be looking at something that I think we all struggle with, finding peace and harmony in a world where it feels like everyone's always pointing out our differences.
It's such a universal struggle, isn't it?
Yeah,
And it's so relevant now more than ever, it seems.
absolutely. And for this one, we've got a really interesting set of sources, some mysterious notes written in Korean,
Ooh, mysterious.
and a transcript from a YouTube video that has a surprisingly hopeful message.
Interesting combo.
Yeah, so let's dive right in.
Right.
First up, we had these cryptic notes.
Okay.
It's titled 2024, 12, 12.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and 2024, 12,
Blah.
12. And both of them just contain the phrase "enetsite," which translates to new note.
So we've got like a date and then just new note, new note.
Exactly. It's like finding pieces of a puzzle, but without the box top,
Like little snippets of someone's personal journey, maybe?
Right, but
Yeah.
we're missing all the context.
Makes you wonder what the story is behind them.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
Then on the other hand, we have this YouTube video. It's called Guillaume Yunhua TV.
Okay.
And it presents a really clear and optimistic message about finding peace in the middle of all the chaos.
That's interesting. So we have like these mysterious notes and then this hopeful message.
Yeah, it's a fascinating contrast.
It is.
And the video uses this really compelling analogy about a village that's struggling with conflict.
Okay.
And the conflict comes from the very things that make them diverse.
Oh, so it's like looking at our own society.
Exactly. It's like a mini version of all the divisions that we see everywhere. Whether it's political, cultural, or even just like how to load the dishwasher the right way.
Oh, yeah. Those dishwasher debates can get heated.
Probably.
But in this village, they have this wise old man who steps in and offers a new perspective.
Oh, I love these wise old man stories. They always have the best insights.
Right.
So what does he say?
Well, he says that differences themselves aren't the problem.
Okay, so it's not about everyone being the same.
Right. He actually says that differences bring richness and beauty to the community.
That's a good point.
The challenge, he says, is finding harmony.
Like figuring out how to make all those different pieces fit together.
Exactly. And he uses this beautiful metaphor of a tree.
Oh, I love a good metaphor.
So he says the branches of a tree might grow in all different directions, but they're all connected by the same roots.
I love that image.
It's such a powerful visual, isn't it?
It is. It really highlights that even though we might seem different on the surface, we're all connected on a deeper level.
Yes. And in this village, the people decide that their unifying roots, their common ground, will be love and peace.
That's beautiful. It makes me think about what our roots are as a society. What are those things that connect us even when we disagree about everything else?
That's a really important question to consider, and it ties into this basic human need for connection and belonging.
We all want to feel like we belong somewhere, right?
Exactly. And even when we have different opinions or beliefs, we still crave that sense of shared humanity.
So how do we find that sense of belonging in a world that feels so divided?
Well, the video offers some interesting suggestions.
Okay, I'm listening.
It emphasizes the importance of practices that help us cultivate inner peace.
Inner peace. That sounds like a good place to start.
It is, and the video specifically mentions prayer and silence as ways to find wisdom and guidance.
I'm curious how that translates for people who aren't religious or spiritual.
That's a great question, and I think it speaks to the importance of finding practices that resonate with each individual.
So it's not about following a specific dogma.
Right, it's about finding what works for you, what helps you quiet your mind and connect with a sense of inner stillness.
So for some people, it might be prayer. For others, it might be meditation or spending time in nature.
Exactly. The key is to find what helps you create space for reflection and introspection.
It's like hitting the pause button before you hit the reply button.
I like that analogy because when we react from a place of inner turmoil, we're more likely to make things worse.
But when we come from a place of inner peace, we can approach things with more understanding and compassion. Okay, so we've talked about the importance of cultivating inner peace, but the video doesn't stop there. It also gives some practical steps that the villagers take to bridge the divides between them.
Oh, I like that it gets specific.
Yeah, so one of the things they do is make a conscious effort to listen to each other even when they disagree.
That sounds simple, but it's so hard to do sometimes.
It is, especially when you feel strongly about something.
But it's so important to be willing to hear other perspectives.
And they also start expressing gratitude more often.
Gratitude, that's a powerful one.
It is, because when you focus on what you appreciate about others, it shifts your attention away from the things that divide you.
And it strengthens relationships too.
It does. And the third thing they do is focus on finding common goals that transcend their differences.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's about finding those things that unite them.
Exactly like in the video, they realize that they all want the best for their children.
Ah, so that becomes a shared goal.
Right, and it motivates them to work together to create a better future for their community.
So it's not about ignoring the differences.
It's about finding that common ground that allows you to move forward together.
And all of this ties into a proverb that's highlighted in the video. Above all else, guard your heart, for out of it spring the issues of life.
That's a powerful proverb. But what does it actually mean to guard your heart?
Well, to me, it means being mindful of our emotional reactions.
So it's about recognizing how our thoughts and feelings are influencing the situation.
Right, because if we're coming from a place of anger or resentment, it's going to be hard to find common ground.
But if we can approach things with a sense of peace and understanding, it's more likely that we'll be able to work things out.
Exactly. It's about managing our inner world so that we can better engage with the outer world.
So let's pause here for a moment and think about this in our own lives. Think about a recent conflict you've experienced and how your emotional reactions influence the situation.
Yeah. Did your emotions escalate the conflict, or did they help you find common ground?
And beyond that specific situation, think about your own personal roots. Those things that connect you to others, even when you might see the world differently.
It might be your values, your beliefs, your experiences, those things that make you feel like you belong.
We'll be right back after a short break to explore these ideas further.
Sounds good.
It's so easy to forget that, that you have to fill your own cup first before you can pour into anyone else's.
Yeah, like you can't give what you don't have.
Right, and the video really emphasizes that by suggesting things like prayer and silence can help cultivate that inner peace.
Those are interesting choices.
I know. Right when I first heard prayer and silence, I immediately thought about religion. But I think the video is actually offering a more universal idea.
Oh, so it's not just about a specific faith.
Right. It's more about finding moments of stillness and reflection no matter what you believe.
So it could be prayer for some people.
Yeah.
But it could also be things like meditation or mindfulness or even just being out in nature.
It's about quieting that mental chatter and finding that inner peace that's already there.
Exactly. And when you come from that place of inner peace, it changes how you see things.
Like, it's easier to be curious about differences instead of judging them.
Yeah, and to have empathy instead of getting defensive.
It's so easy to get caught up in those differences and forget that we're all human.
Like we focus on what divides us instead of what unites us.
Whether it's politics or social issues or even just our taste in music.
But this reminds us that we can always find common ground.
Even when it feels like we're miles apart.
Yeah, like we might all have different opinions, but we all want the same basic things.
Like a safe and healthy community. A sense of belonging, a good future for our kids.
And the video says that even small actions can make a big difference.
Like it's not about some huge sweeping change.
It's more about those individual choices we make every day.
To listen instead of react, to express gratitude instead of complaining.
Each of those little choices adds up.
Like a ripple effect.
Exactly. One person's kindness inspires another person and so on.
And it all goes back to that idea of guarding your heart.
Right. Inner peace leads to outer harmony.
So let's talk about those practical steps that the villagers take.
Okay.
The first one is listening attentively to each other, even when they disagree.
Oh, that's a tough one.
It's so much easier said than done.
Especially when you're in the heat of the moment.
But it's so important to really try to understand the other person's perspective.
Even if you don't agree with them.
And then they build on that listening by expressing gratitude more often.
Gratitude is such a powerful tool.
Because it shifts your focus to the positive.
Instead of dwelling on the negative.
And it helps you see the good in others even when you're disagreeing with them.
It reminds you that you're not so different after all.
And then the third step is finding those common goals.
Like we were talking about before.
Like in the village, they realize that they all want their children to thrive.
And that becomes a shared goal that they can all work towards together.
Right, so it's not about ignoring the differences.
It's about finding that common ground that allows you to move forward.
And you know those cryptic Korean notes we talked about?
Yeah, what about them?
They were labeled with a specific date, 2024, 12/12, and they were full of that phrase, new note.
Makes you wonder if those notes were someone's way of trying to find their own peace.
Like maybe they were jotting down reminders to themselves about how to stay grounded in a world that's full of differences.
Maybe it was their personal journey towards harmony.
And in a way, isn't that what we're all doing?
Trying to make sense of the world and find our place in it.
Exactly. And maybe the biggest takeaway from all of this is that It's okay to not have all the answers.
It's more about being open to new ideas and perspectives,
And being willing to keep searching for those connections that bring us together.
even when it feels like we're drifting apart.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, we want to leave you with a sense of hope.
That even though the world can feel chaotic and divided, there's still so much good out there.
And that peace is possible if we're willing to work for it.
Starting with ourselves.
And spreading outwards.
Like those ripples.
One kind act, one moment of understanding, one step towards harmony at a time. You know, it's funny, we started with those Korean notes, and they really were just fragments, weren't they?
Yeah, just little pieces.
But now they almost feel like this perfect metaphor for the whole thing, you know?
Oh, I see what you mean. Like each new note could be like a new step toward understanding.
Exactly, a new attempt at finding that harmony.
Within ourselves and with each other.
It's not about having it all figured out.
Right. It's more about that constant effort.
And that connects so well with what we saw in the Kim Yoon-ha video, too.
It's about the practice, right?
Yes. It's not about reaching some kind of utopia where everyone agrees all the time.
It's the day-to-day choices.
Choosing to listen, choosing to connect, choosing peace.
And it's almost like we're each writing our own new notes all the time.
Through our actions, our words.
Even our thoughts.
And those little things add up.
They really do.
It's so empowering to think that we can each make a difference.
By choosing peace.
And that it starts with us. You know, cultivating that inner peace first.
And then bringing that to the world.
Because it's not about ignoring the problems.
No, it's about responding to them.
With wisdom, with compassion.
With a clear mind.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into finding peace in a world of differences.
A world that sometimes feels like it's spinning out of control.
We want to challenge you to think about what new note you can write.
What action can you take?
To make the world just a little bit more harmonious.
To bring a little more peace into your own life and the lives of those around you.
Maybe it's reaching out to someone you disagree with and really listening.
Or expressing gratitude to someone you appreciate.
Or maybe it's just taking a few moments for yourself to find that quiet stillness.
Whatever it is, remember that even small acts of kindness can make a difference.
It all adds up.
It really does.
So thank you for joining us on this journey.
We hope it's giving you some food for thought.
Some inspiration to go out and be a peacemaker in your own way.
Until next time, may you find peace within and share it with the world.
And may all your notes be filled with harmony.